Welcome, everybody. Rick DiClemente in the middle of all these thunderstorms. We keep losing the internet in Pittsburgh here. We're back up and running. Hopefully everybody's okay and we're connected. Got a busy night, a lot of charts to do. Nice for you to be with us and nice for you to join us from YouTube. Hello in Cleveland. Hello in California. Hello in New York City, or close enough. Hello in Pittsburgh. Hello in Southwest Texas. We're stretched out, boy. Okay. Here's just a list tonight. Okay. I'm going to do Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I'm going to do Mr. Biden. I'm going to not do Mr. Trump because I'm sick of looking at his chart. But I'm going to mix Mr. Trump with the United States chart. And I'm going to mix Mr. Biden with the United States chart. And then I'm going to look at the election, which does not look very good. And then I'm going to look at the inauguration, which does look very good. So let me tell you about a few things, first of all, about elections. You guys, speaking to the public, put too much stock on what an astrologer can see. Now, for example, when the Steelers played Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl about 7 years ago, I got called by a Seattle newspaper to analyze the planets, tell them what they thought about the game. And at the same time, they got a Seattle astrologer. Now, both of us, we analyzed the kickoff moment of that game, where Neptune was really, really strong in that game, but we did not. Of course, she picked Seattle and I picked Pittsburgh, but in reality, we saw the type of game it would be. We saw that the game would be contested. It would be unclear results. And what happened at the end of that game, there were 7 plays that all went in favor of Pittsburgh. And Seattle got all upset about it. They were very close calls. And when you looked at them real closely, it really looked like the Steelers were thumbs up on all 7 plays. But the thing is, we saw the type of energy, but you don't see who's going to win a game. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's about as ridiculous as praying to God, let my team win. Well, God's up there. I mean, come on, think. Anyhow, we're talking about elections. Mr. Trump has a vile chart. It's one of the worst charts I've ever seen. Now, there could be other people born during the same time he was in 1946 that are not vile. It all depends on your upbringing and your socioeconomic status, how mean of a landlord you are, and also your genetics. It's a lot of things, your karma. So it's just not in astrology. So if you're looking for fixed results, it's the wrong place to look. Now, when you mix two together, when you mix a person with a country, remember, we don't even know what time the country's born. So we're taking a long shot. To mix 2 charts together, you need to know when each was born. But I felt it was so accurate that I wanted to talk about it. So I think you'll understand a lot more by the end tonight. But I got this woman mad at me on Facebook because I told you all about all these dates coming up. I believe it was August 16th, all these dates I outlined. And she wants to know what happened on that day. Well, all kinds of things happen on that day. But you don't tell me, you don't ask me, what day did the Reformation start? These monumental shifts. What day did the Dark Ages end? What time? That's what I do. I look at major periods and shifts. And the public is programmed into, Venus will be with you with your hot boyfriend this weekend. 2 days, 2.5 days. You'll be picking up your mood in the afternoon. This is not minimal astrology. This is major shift stuff. Okay? And Rick means what he says. See? Means what he says. But don't hold me to it. You want to call it internal changes, Erica. That might be a good description. it's more of a shift to the collective, because a lot of people won't believe this, but it's true. There's only one mind out there. I'm not arguing it. There's one mind, and that's the mind that's shifting. And even that's not real. So let's move on. First up, boy, it is hot. First up, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Amazing chart, very strong woman. Okay, here she is. Here's her chart. Sun in Pisces. And as you know, a lot of Pisces are weak. She's not weak. It all depends on the whole chart. Here's the sun right on the midheaven. But remember, we have no birth time. So when we do a noon birth, the sun is always at the midheaven. So we don't pay attention to that. The sun is in Pisces, Mars, Neptune, Jupiter in Virgo. Now, when you put this on the ascendant, when you put the sun on the ascendant, it puts all of this stuff in the sixth house. Let's see how I can do that. You put things on the ascendant in order to analyze the impact on the sun. Okay, this is her chart when you put the sun on the ascendant. So Virgo, Virgo, Virgo. This means she's really, really hard working. Who are the signs of service? Virgo and Pisces. Who are the signs of service? Virgo and Pisces. Service, 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 service. Because she's got no ability to think about herself. Even with Uranus in Aries, even with Mercury in Aries, Eris in Aries, she is a servant. And when you go through our book, let me get that out. When you go through this book and study how the 12 signs evolve, you get to the point where you realize that that's what Pisces is about. Pisces is about giving love. It's just what they're about. So she's a very loving woman, but she's tough as nails. Why is she tough as nails? Moon's in Scorpio by itself. Saturn's in fixed Aquarius. Okay, you got the wonderful Jupiter, Neptune. These are the two I keep telling you about with people that are God-oriented. Jupiter, Neptune, even though it's 9 degrees apart, right next to Mars, all in Virgo, which means don't complain to me. Do what you got to do. Let's get moving. Get back on the horse. Let's go. We got things to do. And the Virgo's in the background. Dr. Kim, she's sitting down there smiling. Okay, now the sun is 8 degrees away from Eris. That's pretty strong. Mercury is 5 degrees from Eris. When you have conjunction with Eris, it makes you very pro what's right. I just can't stand injustice. Look what she's doing. Moon in Scorpio, I don't have to tell you about that. That is just real passionate, very strong. This chart could easily be a failure. She could have easily turned on herself years ago and become very much an alcoholic, very negative, very self-critical, but she did the work. Pluto is in Cancer. Uranus is in Aries. But this Virgo, I mean, I don't know if you've seen pictures of this woman during her exercises. What is she, 90-something? She's 87 years of age. She's doing all these sit-ups and push-ups and stuff. Well, she knows what's going to happen to the court when she passes, and she knows that she's needed. Okay. Anyhow, very powerful chart. It is very tough to do a chart without the birth time. It just is. But when you put the sun on the first house, this chart will tell you some things. When you put the sun at the top of the chart, it will also tell you something. They're not wrong. It's just the real birth time is much more accurate. Now, since the moon can only go 6 degrees one way or 6 degrees the other, it travels 13 degrees in one day. I don't care what time she's born, her moon is in Scorpio. Okay? And what we would do if I sat down with her for hours, I would look for the history of her moving. Because when your moon gets hit, you usually move house to house, city to city. So I would go over the history of when she moved, put the planets on that moon until you would turn this dial until one setting would fit and the rest of them would not fit. That's called chart rectification. That's how you would figure out when she was born. Okay, so she's got a very selfless, helping people out, helping people that are the underdogs. What else is interesting about this is when you put the sun on the ascendant, which is a way of analyzing the sun through the zodiac's prism, these all fall in a sixth house. So like double, triple Virgo. So what do I say in the book? The most important, remember I put a lot of emphasis in the book. There's a chapter on it, the 6 polarities. It's really, really important that you understand Aries and Libra. What's Aries, what's Libra? Taurus and Scorpio, Gemini, Sag, Cancer, Capricorn, Leo, Aquarius, finally Virgo, Pisces. It's really important when you start to translate because the signs opposite each other are very much the same, except one is a me and one is a we. Both Virgo has a sense of service because that's what they should do. Follow this now. Virgo has this tremendous sense of what they should do. I told you I've been thinking for years now. Might sound silly. I've been thinking for years, what does the word should mean? Think about it. It's a big, big subject. Pisces does it not because they should do it. Pisces does it. They serve because they are you. Pisces serves because there's only one of us. The other 11 signs are like, what the heck are you talking about? Well, there is one of us. But yet we go to church and we sing these words, oh, and we're all one and stuff, and we identify with being one and being Christian, and we believe what the Bible says. No, we don't. Anyhow, you got a hell of a woman in this woman. Now, she's been going through all the Virgo planets. Neptune has been going through Pisces. And in the last 10 years, Neptune going through Pisces has affected all the Virgos, even flip, all of them. And as Neptune has gone through, it's at 20 degrees now, it's 2/3 of the way through Pisces. I'll show you. Neptune has been going through Pisces. It's at 20 degrees right now. It's been spending the last 10 years in the sign of Pisces. It's been opposing all the Virgo planets. Okay, so remember what Virgo is uptight and it's got work to do. It's perfected, it's pure, it's careful, it's caring. And what I've seen happen very clearly with Virgos in the last 10 years is almost all of them have been loosening up. They've been loosening up. I don't care if there's dishes in the sink. Oh, what'd you say? Okay, these are a very big deal to Virgos. Because I told you many times, Virgos have somebody. The only person following a Virgo with a clipboard is themselves. And it's true, no one else is taking notes. Did you see that mistake? It's themselves, it's their own sense. It's because they're purist. Final thing I will say, and I'm real glad we did it. We got to the end of this book, and the Virgo chapter was complete. And I told Liza, I'm not happy with this because it's the same old yak. This was 2011. It's the same old yak about Virgos being perfectionists. I said, that's not right. There's something else going on with Virgos. And I'm glad we stopped and we studied and we thought about it and we were right. So they're perfectionists, but there's 2 qualities Virgos have that are much bigger. Purist, caring. They're caring. Why do they stay in the office 2 hours after you've gone home? They don't want any extra pay. Why do they always end up being carpenters, and they just go to the final stages of getting something perfectly fitting. Why they all want a nurse or a doctor? I was in the hospital one time. I had 5 nurses that were all Virgos. 5, male and female. And boy, I didn't go home with any extraneous bacteria. I'll tell you that, they kept me nice and clean. Thank God, especially in these days. So when you look at Bader Ginsburg, Pisces is not a strong sign, but it's a huge open window. It's a huge heart, it's a huge vista, but it's not a strong sign. It doesn't have much backbone. It has to get strength from the other planets, like Moon in Scorpio, like Saturn in Aquarius, like 3 planets in Virgo. So she's got it. But still, it's no picnic to try to keep it integrated. That's why when I talk about the toughest signs to be, I mean, I keep changing this all the time, but the toughest signs to be, I think, are the 3 water signs. The Cancers, the Cancers, the Scorpios, and the Pisces. They're very tough because they're not rational. A water sign, by definition, is not rational. Water just goes where it wants to go. Okay? Water is the unconscious. It is the right-sided people. Okay, now let's move on to much more unpleasant topics. All right. Let's go to Mr. Biden. How you doing, Susan? Claudia's back with us. Thank you for putting up with me tonight. Because Rick means what he says. He means it. Except don't hold me to it. Okay, we're going to Joseph Biden. Now, I'm going to just tell you what the charts say, okay? And you got to understand, this is Mr. Biden's chart. I am a student of Stephen Arroyo in 1978. He had a tremendous impact on me. His impact on me is lessening through the years, but I got my grounding through Biden, through Arroyo. And what I mean is this. Arroyo is probably in his 70s. He's a Libra. He's got Neptune on his descendant with the sun. He's got everything in the 7th and 8th house. He's written a lot of books, brilliant, but he's the astrologer of relationships. He's the master at that. And what I really learned from Arroyo, he's not like Taurus out there, the cerebral, archetypal type, more like me. Arroyo is the realist. He tells you a couple comes to see you. He did a lot of couple therapy. You get this sign, you get this sign. And he thinks about theoretically how these two mix. And then he thinks about practically. Okay, and one of the greatest things I ever learned was from him. Because as an astrologer, you get this question all the time. How do I get along with so-and-so? How do I get along with so-and-so? And Arroyo had one of the greatest answers that I've never forgotten. Before you can mix 2 people together, you got to see what is each person's ability to have a relationship. He's exactly right. If you don't have the ability to have one and you mix perfectly with somebody else, so what? So that's what you really have to study. So he's very reasonable, he's very kind, but he's very flexible. And another thing he taught me, how do I explain? Sometimes you will see a sign. For example, Liza and I were once at a spirit fair, and I was doing readings. And there was a woman parked next to me, and about 19, 20 readers all around the room. There was a woman parked next to me that would not stop talking. For hours, she just wouldn't stop talking. And I got her chart in front of me during one of the breaks, and I said to myself, oh boy, going to be a bunch of Aries, going to be a bunch of Leo, a bunch of Sag. And what did I find out? She was a bunch of Capricorn. It was Saturn right at the top of the chart. So Arroyo taught me that a lot of times what you're looking at needs to be reversed. People overcompensate. And a lot of times, what should be a real repressed, quiet chart never shuts up. Well, why did this woman never shut up? It was very Saturnian. And you say to yourself, well, Saturn's not real talkative. But see, that's where Arroyo pushes you to think. Arroyo showed me how the woman didn't stop talking because she couldn't stand silence. She was not talking. She was covering up silence. Big difference. So when you learn that quality in your reading, say somebody has Mars in Gemini, Jupiter in Gemini, and they're just all over the place. And you go see them, you talk to them, you read for them, they don't move at all. That's that Mars in Gemini, but it's acting the opposite. And that's why I get all these perplexed questions from Susan in Cleveland. She says, well, how could that be? Well, sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes the archetype flips on itself. It just does. Okay? Now, I will strongly recommend any book by Arroyo except his last two. Not very good. But his early stuff is really great. Okay, now, Mr. Biden's chart. It ain't no picnic. I'm going to tell you what's there. You've been learning a lot the last few months, so stick with me. We're going to read what's there. Joseph Biden, for those of you taking notes, November 2042, 8:30 in the morning, Scranton, PA. So the sun has just risen. Sun with Venus. The sun with Venus in Scorpio. Mercury and Mars, 4 planets in Scorpio. Sun Venus is usually very accurate, somebody that enjoys their life. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you something. When you have somebody who's lost your ex-wife and your son, I think it was, in a car wreck, it's going to show up in the birth chart, and we don't know why. What are wrecks? They're Uranian. When I see rape victims, when I see people who've been murdered, a lot of times their sun is opposite Pluto when they're born. I don't know why it happens, but it usually shows up. Very seldom do you see a chart that's mild and they lose somebody in a car wreck. It's just unusual. I don't know why. And it's because some of it is karmic. And we can't understand what's karmic and what's not. Okay. What's so powerful here is the sun is opposite Uranus, almost like mine. Mine is just about here, and my Uranus is just about there. His is closer. Okay, this Uranus is in Gemini. This Saturn is in Gemini. Okay, now, I've always learned in all my years of studying, when you got a Scorpio, you don't want 2 planets there or 3. You want 1 and that's it. Because the tendency, especially with the male, is to become too underhanded. Why is that? It's not that they're underhanded. The temptation, the urge to merge is so great that the healthy urge to combine with you is very tempted to me vampiring you and stealing your stuff. That's the problem. And when you tell me you got 4 planets in Scorpio, I'm sure of it. But we go back to the chart. What do you see? The Scorpio stuff's opposite 2 major planets in Gemini, which we've been talking about recently. All right? So you got this most intense you can get is Scorpio, and the least intense you can get is the Gemini, playful, childlike. This Uranus is really, really powerful because it's less than 1 degree. It's about a half a degree from the descendant. And I keep showing you this past month. Planets on the angles are a big, big deal. Uranus is to be drawn this big. That's how powerful it is. And here you got Sun, Venus. So the Sun is 6 degrees into the 12th house. It's not even affecting the ascendant. It's a 12th house sun. This is a 12th and 1st house Venus. But they're both opposite Uranus. And they're both opposite Saturn. Okay, when planets are opposite Uranus, what it means, especially Venus, you are a flirt. I told you last week, you got to get basics. What does Venus opposite Uranus mean, basically? It means you're a flirt. Because the Uranus in Gemini, it's playful. What is flirting? Flirting's play. Hey, how you doing, kitty? Let me buy you some coffee. Well, you can sense that with Mr. Biden. He's very playful. He's got that huge smile. Huge smile. He's very playful. And we know from histrionics, he's gotten himself in trouble, and he is a politician, and you got a super lens on you at all times. But here's the story, and here's what's interesting. You cannot know Mr. Biden. You will never know Mr. Biden because the Scorpio depths hide behind all that Gemini play. I don't care if he means to or not. It's just behind there, and you ain't going to figure it out. You're just not going to. And there's every reason to think a la Arroyo that he vacillates, that he's Gemini, then he's Scorpio, then he's Gemini, then he's Scorpio. There's really good reason that these things are vacillating. So the secret is, don't try. This is where you'll get in trouble astrologically. You'll think, I'm no good because I can't figure it out. No, it's not. It can't be known. You can't know it. All I know is when I'm reading for him, he's Scorpionic and he's Geminian. And that's like a Tesla coil going, boom, 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 boom. You understand? Don't try to fix it. Don't try to affix it. Erica, don't try to Taurus it, because you can't do it. Now if we went into his 12th harmonic in his past lives, we would probably see where this tendency comes from. But this is why you're going to hear all this degradation of him, flip-flopping, being insincere, etc., etc. But Venus opposite Uranus, here's what it's known for. It's known for sudden attractions. Oh my God, did you see her? I got to have her. If it's a Scorpio, I need her. If it's non-Scorpios, I got to have her. Scorpio, I need her. That's what it is. But just as fast, they drop her. You ever see people that start relationships, they're out of their mind, and they just drop them just as quick? Those are oppositions to Uranus that cause that. Okay. So we know, not that the man's unstable, probably the guy is super stable to having put up with that at all times. And I mean at all times, that energy's always there. Marcia's got it in her chart, I got it in mine. McDuff has it. We've got the opposition to Uranus. So that's why things just seem to be kind of nuts back and forth. All right, let me go back. Listen now. You're all grown-ups now astrologically. If you got a question, stop me and ask me. If you're getting lost, I'm going over here, stop me and ask me. You know, you can't hold me to it. You know, I really got my own rhythm. Yes, that's right. I got my own rhythm, but don't hold me to it. I got my own rhythm, and that's just how it is, okay? And I'm certainly here to help you understand and learn if we stay on subject. I want you to learn and understand what's happening. I think you're getting some understanding tonight by studying this very interesting chart. Now, one of the most fascinating things about this, when you look at politicians have two energies primarily, maybe three. A lot of politicians have a lot of Jupiter or Sag because they want to serve the larger mass. Secondly, a lot of them have Leo because they like to hear their own voice. Primarily, the main thing you see with politicians is strong Taurus planets because they got the capacity to put up with all the BS. They have the stick-to-itness. That's why you look at both McConnell and who's the woman? Pelosi, thank you, dear. Both with 5 planets in Taurus. Both of them. Stick to it. No, you're not talking me out of it. No, 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 no. Because the Taurus. But what do you have here? You got this bouncing ball, ping pong ball, which we don't even know why this goes on. And it's all T-squares, Chiron and Leo in the 9th house. Look at that. What do you think Chiron and Leo is like in the 9th house? It means I'm going to be able to orate for hours and tell you and pop off and be very serious. And I tell you, I wouldn't want to debate this guy. Because Leo energy is very solid. It knows that it knows. Especially if you try to attack this man's dignity. You don't mess with a Leo's dignity or a Leo's sense of dignity to other people. This is why you saw his recent speech. This man is very upset. He's authentically upset that Trump is treating people without dignity. He's on fire. This all coming from the Chiron and Leo. Chiron and Leo is very hard to interpret. But it's the outlet. It's the outlet of all these planets in Scorpio opposite all these Gemini. So when he's cornered, you didn't want to corner Ali. When you cornered Ali, he had Pluto, Mars in Scorpio. Do you remember when he got cornered? Oh, man. He would come out and you were dead. He gave you that look and you were just dead. Okay? That's the power of fixed planets. Just very powerful. So we know he's got Chiron and Leo. The high side of that, he's very dignified. He wants everybody to have their dignity. But we have to find out, is he just popping off by himself? Is he just popping off for his own ego? That's something ye voters have to decide. He's got the potential to do both. The potential is there. In other words, that chart can be easily looked at as a big talker and a car salesman. It can be. Doesn't mean he is. I don't know. It's not my job to figure it out. It's my job to point out the potential. Okay, he's got Neptune opposite Aries, which means he's very for fairness and for the low man on a totem pole, trying to help them out. The Saturn is very strong. It's retrograde, indicating trouble with the father. We don't know what that's about, but this is very tough. You got Sun, Venus, opposite Saturn, Uranus. Now, what does it mean when you got a problem with Saturn, Uranus? Well, Saturn is the social planet that holds us together. And Uranus is the planet that comes along and says, well, that's gotten old and stale. Let's blow that up. So put it together, blow it up. Put it together, blow it up. And they're both in Gemini. So I think he is easily attacked for making it seem like he's not taking a firm stance. You're going to see that when we mix him together with the United States chart. Not taking a firm stance. So let's move on. I did the planets on his chart. I did the planets on Trump's chart during the election, and I refuse to talk about what I found because I'm not going there. All right. I'm not going to bring Trump's chart because it is so absolutely disgusting. It is so awful, especially in terms of how he was raised. It is the imperfect storm. Trump's chart keeps getting saved. He keeps getting blasted by these planets, and he keeps standing. And the reason why I think is karmically, he's being protected because he's the mirror. He's the mirror. And Americans need to see, and we sure do, because we ain't good at it. We need to see what the ugly Americans we are. And we've got a lot of great side to us too, yeah. Of course. But that's why he's sustaining. Anyhow, when I put, let's get into Let's get into the mixtures now. When I put Trump with the USA, Trump in the USA, let's see if this is right. Yes, this is right. This is Trump's chart mixed together with the USA. Okay, I've been telling you for weeks about angular planets. I've been telling you for weeks that everything is fighting at the 24th degree of Capricorn. Mr. Trump has a bucket pattern to the moon in his chart, which means that the whole world circulates around me. It's all about me. I'm the big baby. Everybody's going to keep kissing my butt. And without the moon, he still would be that way. His chart's so bad. This is the midpoint chart between the United States and Mr. Trump. I cannot tell you how bad this is. I'm not even going to look at the other planets. Because Pluto is sitting here, Saturn is sitting here, Jupiter is sitting here, and Eris is sitting at 24 here, right angle. Now, the reason it's so bad is not only because it's the moon, it's at the early beginnings of the fourth house. What that means, because the moon means so many things. The moon is the public. In a chart like this, it's the public itself. Now, I'm going to describe to you what the moon stands for. And you think about it in your own intuitive way. Think about it specifically, then think about it widely. And remember, Pluto's on that moon. And Pluto's all about death and rebirth. You get any symbol here, any sight that the country's kind of dying? Some doubt as to whether we're going to rebound? What's the moon? It's your feelings, it's your sense of safety with your family, it's your traditions, it's grandma, it's apple pie, it's the farm, it's your lineage, it's your property, it's your sense of safety when you're at home. All these things are direly threatened. Why are they threatened? Well, in his chart, they're threatened because he didn't get what he needed. He's going down, and he's going to make sure you go with him. Spite. Really ugly, awful. But think about this now. Zoom up above the earth. Zoom up and live in the clouds for a while. And take a look at America in the last 40 years. Look down on this globe. At Africa and Australia and Europe and the US. Look down on this globe and see what your opinion is of the USA for these last 40 years. No one wants to talk about who we screwed in South America. No one wants to talk about who we screwed in the Middle East. So, why do I say that? Because Pluto's here. Pluto's got one job, to self-correct. If you've been abusive, we get rid of you. If you've been non-abusive, we start to regenerate. We are the phoenix from the ashes, and we start to rebuild. Well, have you seen any abuse of power in this country? Hell yes. There's your story. So that chart is so unfavorable because how much can you take? Now, can I put it up again? Yes, I sure can. For you YouTubers, I'm seeing text messages that come from the people that I'm here with. Also, let me show you, in case you folks would like to join us. I'll be right back. If you'd ever like to join us live Thursday nights at 8 o'clock, just go to starself.com/unplugged. Thursday night, 8 Eastern is free. Get yourself a camera, go to starself.com/unplugged. Okay, now back to this chart. Remember, I mean what I say. Okay, here's the chart, and you got, now I got to tell you, you got to understand this. When you're doing a composite, you do not pay attention to the signs of the zodiac. Other charts, yes. How could you have a Gemini planet, I got a Leo planet, ends up being in Cancer? Now, if you and I both have Mars in Gemini, then the Mars will be in Gemini in the composite chart, and you'll pay attention to that. But if I got a planet in Aries and you got a planet in Gemini, how's the planet end up in Taurus? It just doesn't. So you look at everything on a composite chart, but you don't pay attention to the signs. All right. Now we see the Mars is right at the top, and Pluto's here, 24, 24. Okay, what this means, remember, this is not just 2020, this is Mr. Trump's birth chart. So we knew this in 1946, this chart was available. But the potential was there. And now Pluto's sitting here, and now Jupiter's here, and Mars just crossed here, and Saturn just crossed here, and Eris is there. So it's very deadly. So the person asked me on the internet, well, what happened? What I gave her the date in August is when Mars crossed. What happened? What do you think happened? What do you think happened? What do you think the textbooks are going to say in 50 years when they look back to 2020? That's what happened. So, the good thing is the country needs to be dismantled. The bad thing is, are we going to be too hurt from that process to rebuild? We can all see the promise. We can all see the mea culpa. We can all see people coming to life and remembering what they did to the Indians, what they did to the black people. We can all see the mea culpa. We're all trying to regather our strength for the rebuild. But it doesn't happen overnight. And the Pluto return is just forming in the USA's chart. So we're in this Pluto period, and that's just a bad chart. So let me get out of that chart. Uranus doesn't make any aspects, no surprise factor. I wouldn't translate it that way, but no, I don't think how it's translated. Uranus doesn't make any aspects. You're exactly right. This is called a peregrine planet. A peregrine, just like a peregrine falcon. A peregrine planet is a planet that's not conjunct anything. It's not opposite anything. It's not squared anything. And it's not tried anything. Or sextile. And it's not in the sign that rules. This makes the planet extra powerful. A peregrine planet touches nothing, so it's extra powerful. What does this mean? This means there's this unconscious, intense ability to deal with power in a myriad of surprising ways. That's what this means. But this chart is so powerful, you don't need to look at anything. So, Moon, Mars. I'll show it to you in case you can't visualize it like I can. I'll show it to you. Let me put the planets right now on that chart. Okay. Okay, now when you look, this is the composite of Trump plus the United States, and you look at that Mars and Moon, look at Saturn, look at Pluto, look at Jupiter, look at Eris. See, Mars has just crossed over. That's why it's been so dangerous the last 3 or 4 days. Okay, so this stress between Uranus and Pluto and that Moon and that Mars is where the problem is. Now, let me move on. Now, we did Mr. Biden. Let's mix Mr. Biden with the USA. And I believe it's this one. Yes. Now, this is no picnic. This is Joe Biden mixed together with the USA. Now, I have done by hand thousands of composite charts. And I don't find them all that accurate. Sometimes they're really strongly accurate, sometimes they're not. But what I have found in composite charts, planets near the angles are really important. Once again. Now look at Biden's chart. The moon is at the bottom. It's in Pisces, it's not 24 Capricorn. The moon is at the bottom and it's opposite Neptune. I'll tell you exactly what that means. Exactly. No matter what Biden does, no matter what the Democrats do, we're going to end up feeling tremendously like we're standing on quicksand. That's what's going to happen. That is so strong, there's no way to even debate this. Now, there are many sides to this. This also means that we're going to go back to the family and we're going to try to resurrect the country through family values and through love and understanding. But don't you know what the Fox Network's going to do to this guy and what all the anti-news and disinformation is going to do? They're going to bombard this guy with you're a commie, you're a socialist, whatever. Okay, now, as far as translating a chart, you've got a real strong ninth house. What does that mean? When you do a composite chart, you got to see where the sun is. Because a composite chart tells you the main reason for that relationship. And the main gift that Biden gives to the country is his philosophy, his work to back up the Constitution, the philosophy behind the country. He's got Venus and Mars there. You got Sun next to Mercury. We got 5 planets in Virgo. Don't pay attention to the sign. Got 5 planets in the 9th house, 10th house. Look at Uranus. 2 degrees plus. 2 degrees plus in the 7th house in Gemini. What this means is you're going to see a tremendous outpouring. And Liza just came back from a Democratic meeting. You're going to see a tremendous amount of energy around Biden and new discussion and the internet being used, Uranus, the internet being used, new talk, let's bring everybody to life. While everybody's feeling so uncertain, Moon Neptune. So it's going to be crazy. You got to be crazy to want the presidency after. Would you want to sit in his chair? How much sage you think we ought to take and burn at that White House when the transition appears? Huh? Like big bundles. I mean what I say. But don't hold me to it. Okay. So what you're seeing, remember, there are no mistakes spiritually. He's the right man at this time, and he could lose. We all know that. Oops, where'd that mailbox go? But damn, where'd that thing go? He could lose. Even if he wins, it's not going to be a picnic because we're going to be on uncertain grounds. Why are we going to be on uncertain grounds? It's very clear with the moon opposite Neptune. Why does it tilt towards uncertainty? Because we are not strong and centered as a people spiritually. We're not. I'm not sure what country is, but we're certainly not. We're certainly not. That's what the moon opposite Neptune means. The public is uncertain. It also means, clearly, the public's being deceived big time. Big time. And Biden could be a real big deceiver. See, when you got Neptune opposite the moon, is it the country deceiving him, or is it him deceiving them? Is it both? Very difficult to translate. But it certainly shows that he would preside over a time that's very uncertain. And it also says clearly that we need to trust in spirit, because the next 2 charts I'm going to do are the chart of the election and the chart of the inauguration. So we got a neat little package tonight. And I mean what I say. Don't hold me to it. Okay. What else do we see here? All right. So we can see without a doubt, Mr. Biden is going to put tremendous amount of energy into repairing our educational systems. Okay? He's just built to do that. Uranus, he's going to be really big, and this is really good. He's going to really be good at renewing relationships with our people that have turned into our enemies. These are very good. And you know, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I read for a woman yesterday, and she's lived all over the world. She's lived in Nepal, and she's lived in Thailand. And she says, when you're over there and you look back at America, it just looks so different than when you're here. And like I keep saying, Americans are we're so childlike. We're so childlike. So here's to, there are a lot of good things, great things happening. Here's to Mr. Biden's efforts to get the election and to renew the country. I think it's pretty clear that he's got a very strong heart. I think it's pretty clear. He may have some jive, what you got to do just to be in Washington. But I think it's pretty clear that he cares about the people here. And I think it's pretty clear the opposite is not true. I don't think so. All right, let's go into the election. I don't like the looks of this chart. Now, I had to pick a time, so usually by 11 o'clock Eastern, election night, we know who the president is, or we're pretty close. So it could go 4 in the morning, it could go 2 weeks later. So I'm just going to show you the chart for 11 p.m. DC, November 3rd. Okay? And if it goes a few hours later, Susan's disagreeing with me. That's okay. Here's the chart of the election. All right. November 3rd, 2020, 11 p.m., Washington, D.C. Look what's high in the sky. Sun opposite Uranus. Sun opposite Uranus. So they've been opposed exactly 4 days earlier. This means all kind of surprises are possible. Sun, Uranus, moon's out by itself in Gemini, Leo's rising. We can't trust this because we don't know what time the election will be decided. But we do see a tremendous T-square pointing to Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter. And here's Eris, in the center of it. Eris is squaring Pluto. So in this chart, this house being overly stressed is the house of labor unions, the youth, health, getting yourself together, taking responsibility for yourself. What I think is going to happen, and I don't know, but what I think from all the studying I've done, and don't hold me to it, okay? Very clear, very clear. I think we're going to have an absolute mess. Election night, the night before, all the way till January 20th. I think that Mr. Babyfi, he's going to play his games. I'm not going to accept the results. And I personally think he's going to drum up some type of civil war. I just think he's going to. It's sad, but that's my opinion. And I think that when you get to the inauguration chart, you're going to see the hope that's in that chart. And I think that hope is going to translate as the Supreme Court holding its ground. And I think, because we have a birth time there, we got a birth time January 20th, noon. Okay, so we know that chart for sure. The ugliness is still there, which is all the Capricorn stuff, squared Aries. But the other stuff is more inviting. So I think the election chart's going to be full of funny money, mirror, smoke, all the jive stuff. Okay, whatever. Did you see my post on Facebook this week? I was begging the UFO to give me a ride. Please, please, just pick me up. I don't take much room. Please, just pick me up.
I don't suppose you could do a chart on the post office.
No, I don't think so. Good question. I don't know when it began. I thought about that. Let me dig into it this week. Now, let's just jump ahead, since that's an unpleasant topic. Let's jump right ahead to the inauguration, which I've done with you before. I've shown you this in the past. Let's take a look. The inauguration of maybe one or the other. But you've got November 3rd to January, to December 3rd to January 3rd, 10 days. You got about 70 days trying to figure this thing out. And when you got yourself 17 lawyers to your own self, who knows what kind of thing's going to go on. Now, what's fascinating about this chart is the troublesome planets are in the 12th house. No, that's not true. That's not true. The Pluto, let me look fresh at this. The Pluto square to Eris is between the 9th house and the 12th. Now, I tell you what, this is a sleeper. This planet is almost 25, and 1 1/4 degrees away is the midheaven. So would you like to start a 4-year term with Pluto at your midheaven? It's just going to be really tough. The mud is going to fly so thick. But what's so promising, and I think it is promising, this is not black and white, are Sun, Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury in Aquarius. And you do pay attention to the signs here. 4 planets in Aquarius, and this is like somebody coming by and trying to prop up that Statue of Liberty once again. That's what this is like. And Neptune is in Pisces in the 11th. So these 5 planets here are very powerful, promising symbols of a rebirth. But Pluto's sitting here, right on the midheaven. It just means there's going to be good and bad. It's just going to be overwhelming, overwhelming. And this 12th house is going to be the QAnon and Fox Network and everybody working behind the scenes to bring it down, blah, 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 all that stuff. I was thinking about it today. I remember being on a show 3 years ago and saying, people, we live in an insane country. 3 years ago. This place is nuts. It just is. So the inauguration chart looks promising. It looks like there's going to be a lot of contention. I don't know what the hell's going to go down between November 3rd and January 19th, but I do think that Aquarius that shows up in that inauguration chart, to me, is everything's put in the lap of the Supreme Court. Yes, Miss Linda, perfect. You have to unmute yourself.
Oh, unmute yourself. I say it 50 times a day.
What's that?
I say unmute yourself to the kids in school 50 times a day.
I don't know why they did that, because some people you don't have to unmute them.
Well, I mean, we need, I got half my kids in the classroom, half of them in the dorm. And so their roommates are in there. They got pets in there. They're not supposed to. I mean, it's just crazy. So they all have to be muted. But anyway, I wondered if you could roll back the chart to the point where things went into Aquarius, so that we could maybe get a timeline a little bit. I mean,
when what went into Aquarius?
When all those 4 planets move into Aquarius.
You want to go back in time?
Well, I mean, we're looking at the inauguration, okay?
Okay, well, think about this now. Saturn has already gone into Aquarius and come back to Capricorn, right?
Right.
Pluto's not going to be there for at least 2 years.
No, I mean the ones that are in there for the inauguration.
All right. Well, we can give that a shot. All right. Here is the inauguration. You want to pull this stuff back out of Aquarius.
Like we could stop for a minute and like, you know, the sun is at 0 degrees.
The sun one day earlier. The sun is meaningless. It's meaningless. The Saturn is going to be a couple months. Jupiter probably a couple months. Mercury's meaningless. So the only question is the Jupiter Saturn. So if we go backward by days, let's go backward. Okay, we're going to take the sun back into Capricorn. See it?
I'm not.
See the sun's in Capricorn.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
Nothing's moving on my chart, so I can't see.
It's what?
I can't see it. It's still the same chart that I'm looking at.
Oh, well, that's because I have to repaint it twice. Okay, this is January 15th. See the sun, and the sun is back at 25 Capricorn. So Saturn, I'll tell you by looking at it, Saturn doesn't go into Aquarius. I'm getting there.
Yeah, right there.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
The sun goes into Aquarius on December 18th.
I'm thinking by mid-December we'll probably have a pretty good idea what's going on. That's just my guess.
I think you're definitely guessing. And don't hold her to it.
Don't hold me to it.
I think this guy is so sleazy. She said, don't hold me to it. Okay. I don't know. But I'm going to tell you, don't hold me to it. Right. No matter what happens, there are so many conflicting energies. What I think, yeah, I know it's always at noon. That's what the chart has done for noon. Thank you. There are so many conflicting energies. And I think if you take a poll right now, and one side wins or the other, you got half the country unhappy. Okay? And I think he's done the sleazeball job of telling them to pick up their guns without telling them to pick up their guns. And Missouri passed a law today, or this week. Missouri passed a law this week that your grandkids, that your grandparents can buy guns for the grandchildren without telling the parents. In Missouri, the law has passed. So let's buy him a 22. Let's buy him a shotgun. They're so cute. I like to take them hunting, you know, and that's true. Anyhow, the point is really clear. You got a lot of stupid people in this country. They're just really stupid. A lot of them. And whatever happens on election day, I don't think they're going to digest and be polite about it. So I'd like to open the phones up to you. Oh my God, says Claudia. Where'd you go, Claudia? We want you back on camera. Anybody wants to talk about any of this stuff, I got the charts available. But I think you got the point. And nothing's easy. And this is such a difficult time. Plus, the Pluto return in the United States chart is just so astounding. What did I do? Okay. Who wants to talk? Ask, unmute. Who's got, her hand almost rose. Come on. Who's got a question? Claudia's back with us. Come on, Susan. I know you got, no, she says, no, I'm not touching that. Marcia says, okay, go ahead, Marcia.
It's going back to Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Come close, please.
Oh, right. I probably have to unmute, right?
No, I unmuted you.
Oh, you did?
This is Ruth's chart. Go ahead. Well, it's been muted again. You got to unmute yourself. Ask to unmute. There you go. You're on now about Ruth.
Okay. Is it because you didn't have her birth time that you moved her sun to the ascendant.
For many years, when I did not have a birth time, I put the sun on the ascendant. It's called a solar chart, and it relates everything to the sun. But then I found out that many people were putting the sun at noon. And I found out that it's really pretty accurate, that a noon birth time is kind of central and it's kind of representative of the whole day. It's not accurate like a birth time, but I found that noon charts really work pretty good. But anyhow, we can look at the sun at noon. We can look at the sun at sunrise. Both charts are right. Both charts will tell you truths. And in her case, we saw the one thing it did, the main reason I did it, Marcia, was to show how Virgoan she is. Because when you have the sun here, these end up in the 6th house.
Right.
If the sun's up here, they don't. And the Virgo is that, by God, I just do what I gotta do. No whining, complaining. How many push-ups you want today? Let's go. She's very Virgoan. Her tremendous sense of service. But I know in my mind while I'm doing it that this is a solar chart. It's a noon chart. We don't have the birth time. But that's why.
Okay.
For example, in your own chart, for example, if I wanted to know more about your love life, I would put Venus on the ascendant. Because the zodiac is a prism. The zodiac is exquisite. It's an unbelievably accurate 12th. It's a 12th. It 12thifies everything. And the zodiac's unbelievably accurate. If I want to know about your emotional life, I put the moon on the ascendant. And everything adjusts. And boy, it's interesting. It's not easy to do, but that's the problem when you have no birth time. It makes it hard on you.
Okay.
Good question. All right. Who's next? Give me your thoughts, opinions. Come on, Claudia. What are you thinking? Boy, I'm not getting anything from you. It shows that you're not muted, but your mic is not working. Oh. Sorry. There's just no sound on her microphone. She says, hold on. She knows what it is because I've been lip reading. Hold on.
It's something to do with her phone because she has a phone symbol instead of a microphone.
You're exactly right, Erica. I want to see. Well, let's just take a moment here tonight and say good night. Let's say good night to our Facebook people or our YouTube people. Thanks for being with us. Don't want to put you through this technical jargon tonight. Thanks for being with us. Join us next week.